Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me today for this webinar on getting started with FCS Express 7 for the Flow Cytometry version. We have really a lot of stuff to go through together today, so I want to move on the agenda for today. And as you can see today, we will have a great overview of the basic functionality. So the idea is to help you in getting started and to build your first analysis. So as you can see here, I will give you an overview of the user interface, which is pretty similar to PowerPoint. So what I'm using now, it's FCS Express, is not PowerPoint. We will insert objects exactly as you will do in PowerPoint. So we will insert text box, we will insert plots, and we will start creating our analysis by also creating gates, quadrants, markers on histogram. So we will start really from scratch, from the blank page. We will also retrieve statistics. You will see that in FCS Express, there are a bunch of ways in which you can gather statistics from your data. For example, we have pre-customized statistic, but you can also build your, let's say, summary statistic at your convenience. We will deal with multiple files. You will see how you can then use your analysis, your template. You will see it's a template, what we are going to create. To analyze multiple files, no matter whether they are 2 or whether they are 2000. And in FCS Express, this is called batch processing, as you can see here. We will see a few examples of export like PowerPoint, PDF, and Excel, but we have much more. Last but not least, we will also deal a little bit with the integrated spreadsheet, which is a very cool feature in FCS Express 7 that also allows you to create charts. So not only calculating formula, but you can also create charts. Okay, so this is the plan. Let me move to the next page and we will start from here. So this is FCS Express. It's really similar to PowerPoint. We shamelessly copy the PowerPoint user interface with the idea that most of us already know how to use PowerPoint. So by keeping this user interface, which is very familiar, you're basically alpha way of learning FCS Express. You see that at the top, we have a ribbon bar, which is subdivided in different tabs like file, home, insert, design, pretty similar to PowerPoint. We also try to copy the same icon. And then you have a blank page, which is the same as the slide in PowerPoint. So what we are going to do is creating objects in this slide. So this will be your final layout. And we are going to create in this final layout as you usually do with a PowerPoint presentation. So we will add some plots, we will add some text, you can add some shapes and so on. And also, as you will see, you can also add some charts thanks to the spreadsheet. Here at the bottom left, you can see that you can add multiple pages. So exactly as in PowerPoint, you can add multiple slides. And in this case, you see also that you can rename slides. I have the intro, which is the first one that we saw, that we have the agenda. Then I have these two, page 1 and 2, that are the blank one that I'm going to use with you during this webinar. We also have the zoom. If you see here, I can act on the slide and I can change the zoom of my slide. So the slide so far, as you can see, it's in landscape mode, but I already want to mention that in the ribbon bar, we have a design tab, the same design tab that you have in PowerPoint. And you see, you can use it to customize, for example, the size. You can customize the orientation. I set landscape, but you can set portrait. You can change the margin. We also have some, let's say, pre-customized layout. I went with the blank page because I really want to start from scratch, but you see, you can also pick up any of those scheme if you prefer. So the first tab that I want to mention after the design tab is probably the most important tab overall in FCS Express. And it's the insert tab. With this insert tab, exactly as you will do in PowerPoint, you can insert object. Again, if this is the first time that you are approaching FCS Express, imagine to be in PowerPoint. We really do everything we can to match the PowerPoint behavior. I didn't show you, but for example, in the File tab, you can see the same option like Save As, you can see Export, you can see the Print. So we really want to stick to the PowerPoint organization. And in the Insert tab, as you can see, you can grab any object you want to create and to add to your slide. You can add shapes, you can add text boxes. We will see the spreadsheet later on. You can add 1D and 2D plots, and we will also have a look at the charts. So you see, we also have other plots type. We have dedicated webinars for that. But basically what I want to tell you now is that when you want to create an object in your page, so if the question is, how can I add this object? The answer is go to the Insert tab. So for example, let's start by creating a text box. So I will click on text box, I will draw it, and now I can type. So this is my first text box. You can resize it, you can move it around exactly as you will do in PowerPoint. Let me zoom a little bit so that you can better see the content. You see, this is a standard text box. We also have a text tab, as you can see in the ribbon bar, that allows you to customize the text. We don't have like super fancy effect like 3D or shadow, but you see you can change the font's properties, you can change the paragraph, you can insert table. We will do this later on. So this is usually sufficient if you want to add some comment, some legend, some text to your presentation. I see people are also using FCS Express to create poster for some congress. Instead of copy and pasting multiple times in PowerPoint, they just do everything here. And if I go back to the Insert tab, you see you can also add pictures. So if you want to add the logo of your institution, or if you want to add the picture of the cell that you took at the microscope, you can do that. So now let's create something more interesting than a text box. Let's say that we want to create a 2D plot. So you see here we have all the different 2D plots type. I want to go with the color.plot. So I'm going to click and I'm going to draw it as we did with the text box. And you see here that the software is asking me which file I want to load. In my experiment, I have multiple files. I will just start with one of them. I will grab the first one. And this is the plot, how it looks by default in FCS Express. It seems like a picture, but it's not. You can resize it, you can move it around, but it's interactive. So you see, for example, if you click on the y-axis title, you can select which parameter saved by the instrument you want to display on that axis. For example, I can select side scatter here, and on the x-axis, I want to select forward scatter. So this is probably sounds more familiar to what you usually see in your plots. So this is the default aesthetics. You see the plot, it's white background, it's a border with a border. You have the title containing the file name. The axis title fonts is like Arial with blue color. I just want to anticipate and tell you that you can change everything you see in this plot. You can change the color of the text, you can change the background, you can change the thick and the color of the axis. You can do everything you want. We will see some example later on. If you want to change the axis, I want to show you a shortcut that we just introduced with version 7. And let's say that you are presenting this plot with forward scatter and say scatter on the Y, and some colleagues say, oh, I'm usually happy to look at these two parameters in the opposite way. Well, if you select the plot and you press Ctrl-Shift-F, you can flip the axis very quickly. You see here, I'm pressing Ctrl-Shift-F, and I can do that very quickly. This is one of the new shortcuts that we introduced with version 7. So let's create a gate. You see here, you probably have noticed in the ribbon bar, together with the Insert, together with the Design tab, we have a gating tab. And you can grab from this tab the gate that you want to create. So for example, I will go with the ellipse gate, and I will draw it around my population of interest. And as you can see here, you have a dialog that allows you to specify a name. Let's say this is sales gate. Allows you to specify a color. I want to keep this color now. You can also decide whether you want to include or exclude So usually you want to include, so the cells gate will include the cells within the ellipse. If you click on exclude, the cells gate will contain the cells outside the ellipse. It's like a not gate. We have also few additional options. Here you see emphasize on plot. We will see this later on. This is to make the events that belong to this gate larger. And this is great if you are dealing with rare events. And then we also have this, always create data specific gate when moving this gate. So we will see this later on. So we will see what the data specific gate is. So for the moment, just keep in mind that you have this option in the gate property dialog. So at this stage, I just want to specify the name and keep everything else as it is. So we'll click OK. And you see now that the gate is created. So the gate is live updating. You see it comes with a text box, and also the text box is updating in real time as soon as I move the gate. Now, what you probably want to do at this stage is opening, for example, a new plot gated on this gate. So you want to focus, you want to go farther, and in your downstream analysis, you want to focus on the sales gate. It's really easy to move on in this case with FCS Express. The only thing that you need to go is to grab this gate and drop it out to create a new plot. This will allow you to define where you want to create a new plot. If you drag this gate here, you will create a new plot here. So this really gives you a lot of power. In this case, I want to create the plots close to the first one, so I want to drop it here. And you see the second plot, the copy, it's identical. The only difference is that it's gated on the cells gate. So this is the first example of drag and drop capability that you have in FCS Express. We have tons of drag and drop capability that really allows you to make the analysis very quick. So let me just create a few more gates, just that we have an hierarchy. For example, I change the y-axis and I want to create a new gate, let's say CD3. I will call CD3, and I want to show you that by default, since this plot is displaying the cells population, when you create a gate on this plot, in this case the CD3 gate, the parent gate, it's automatically set to be cells. So FCS Express, it's automatically creating gates in a hierarchical way. Let's select, for example, blue color, probably better, and I will click OK. So this is my next gate. I will create one more plot just to have, again, a sort of hierarchy. And in this case, this allows me to show you that if you want, instead of clicking on the parameter list with your mouse, let's say you have a huge list, like you're dealing with high dimensional data and you have like 20, 30 parameter. A very nice tool here is to type. You see here we have this field. I can type, for example, CD, and now I'm filtering. And if I type CD8, in this case, I have only one parameter, which is CD8 APC size 7. I will do the same here. I will type CD4. In this case, I have two, CD4 and CD45. But anyway, the list is much shorter, so this will really help you. I want to show you how to create a polygon gate. So far, we create ellipse and CD3. Click every time that you want to insert a corner. And then to close the polygon, either click on the first corner or just press the space tab on your keyboard. And you see the same dialog appear. So let's say this is CD, I think it's CD8, and let's say green. And I will quickly do another gate here, CD4, and let's say purple. Okay, this is my very basic analysis, few plots, few gates. I want to show you that exactly as in PowerPoint, if you multiple select few plots, you see here in the home tab, this is a new tab, you see we have arrange and align. This is very useful if you want to organize the analysis in a nicer way. For example, I can align to the top and I can equally space them. So you see distribute horizontally. So they are now well placed in my layout. If you want to be really organized, this is a good way to do that. Now, what I want to show you is that, yeah, we know that we are creating an hierarchy because we have a cells gate and we have a child gate, which is CD3, and then we have two children, which are CD8 and CD4. But how can I keep track of the hierarchy? Well, if you go to the Insert tab, you can insert the gate view. Okay, I'm going to click the gate view and I'm drawing it. You see the gate view, it's telling you the hierarchy, It's so, for example, you see CD8 and CD4 are brother, and they are both children of the CD3. It's telling you the gate name, it's telling you the gate color. One of the many reasons why the gate view is useful is because, for example, you can double click on a gate if you want to edit that gate properties. You remember we have like the name, the color, and some other option. If you want to modify those options, once the gate is created, just go to the gate view and double click. So for example, if I double click on the CD4, you see, this dialog is pretty similar to the one we saw at when we created that CD4. So if I type, for example, CD4 plus, now I change the name. You see here we have a few more options. For example, the line width. You can change the line width if you want to make the border of the gates larger. For example, if I say line width 3, you will see that the line will be bigger. And we also have this option, just want to mention it, I will not use it. You see here, alt click required to select this gate. This is useful if you want to lock some way this gate. So let's say that you want to accidentally move it, as we done before by just clicking and dragging. You can set this option, and every time that you want to move that gate, you will require to press alt on your keyboards. So if you select it, just remember that then you need to press alt to move that gate, because it will not move without pressing that button. I'm not going to check it, I just want to mention that. Okay, so we just changed the name and we just changed the line width. So now I'm going to click OK, and you see now that the name of the gates updated, both in the plot and in the gate view, and also the gate line updated. This is just one of the reasons why the gate view is useful. Another one, for example, but we have many, another one is that you can change the hierarchy. So let's say that for some reason you created the CD4 gate as a brother of the CD4, but it's wrong. Okay, let's say that the CD4 gate should be like a child of the CD8. It's very easy to fix this issue. Just drag the CD4 on top of the CD8 within the gate view. This means that the CD4 gate will now be a child of the CD8. So it's very easy. You don't need to delete the gate and recreate it. Just drag and drop in the gate view. If I want to go back, you can either drag and drop the CD4 on top of the CD3 so that it will be a child of the CD3. But in this case, I want to show you the undo capability of FCS Express. You see here, we have an counterclockwise arrow. You can undo as many times as you want. You see, I'm undoing, and then I can also redo. So it's pretty powerful, FCS Express, with this regard, because you can undo every single action. So there is no limitation in terms of which action you can undo. So this was the basic, let's say, behavior for creating plots, creating gates, and keeping track of the hierarchy. What I want to show you now is, for example, how to create quadrants. So let me, for example, duplicate this plot, the one on the right. I can just right-click duplicates, or you see here we have a shortcut, Control D. So this plot is still displaying CD3 because it's a copy of the plot above. And let's say that we want to have a look at other parameters, like, for example, CD19 and CD16. Okay. And let's say that we want to analyze these pairs of parameters with quadrants instead of gating. Just to show you how to use them, I'm opening the gating tab in the ribbon bar, and instead of selecting gates, I'm going to click on quadrants, and then I click wherever I want within the plot. And you see that the quadrants is created. The quadrants text boxes, you see 4 text boxes are automatically created, and they update in real time as soon as you move the quadrants. So it's really easy to create quadrants. Now, we have different type of quadrants. The default one is called standard, which is the one that you see here. Basically, it means that the branches are orthogonal. So you see here you have 90 degrees between all the branches. But for example, we also have other type, and one is the floating that allows you to change the slope of each branch. And I want to show you this just as an example. How can we activate the floating quadrants? So this example allows me to introduce the formatting capability of FCS Express. If you look at the ribbon bar, you have a tab, a tab called Format. This Format tab contains all the formatting options available in FCS Express. When you select an object, in this case, I'm selecting the 2D plots at the bottom right, you see I have multiple options that I can customize. I can change the size, the fill, the border of the plots, the axis, the title, and I can also change the quadrants. Okay, so the buttons that are highlighted in the ribbon bar in the Format tab depends on which object you are selecting, you are working with. If you do not select anything, for example, if I click on the blank page, you see that all the buttons are basically not available. If I select these 2D plots, I have a bunch of different options. And in this case, I want to show you the quadrants. So you see here at the right, I have a quadrants button. When you click on any of those buttons in the Format tab, a dialog will open on the right, exactly this way. You see I have a quadrants dialog because I clicked on quadrants. This is the same behavior of PowerPoint. When you want to format an object in PowerPoint, a formatting dialog appears docked on the right, and the beauty is that it's live updating. So if you do any change in the formatting dialog, that change is automatically applied to the plots, to the selected plot. Another thing that I want to mention is that this formatting dialog, it's a floating window. So if you drag it from the top, you see you can undock it and you can move it wherever you want. If you want to dock it back, just grab it again from the top, and by holding your mouse button, you see just move your mouse here in the center of the screen and you will have different possibility. Dock it to the left, to the bottom, or to the right, which is the same as default. You can also automatically hide it. You see here, close to the X button that allows you to close it, you have a pin. If you click on this pin, the formatting dialog will automatically hide, and when you hover the mouse, it will open again. Okay, this is just the default behavior of the formatting dialog. And it's pretty useful because from this formatting dialog, you can actually access through this drop-down menu all the options that you have in the format tab of the ribbon bar. So once you have opened this formatting dialog, you can keep it open and just switch through the different category. You see those are the different categories that you have at the top: axis, title, legend, quadrants, and so on, and quickly format the selected object. So long story short, we are formatting the quadrants on this plot, and one of the many formatting options is the type. And in this case, instead of standard, I want to click on floating. And now you see that in my plot, the quadrants can be adjusted also by acting on the vertex, not only on the center. So this is pretty useful if your population are not really round shaped and you need to adjust the slope of each branches. This is just an example. I also want to show another example of formatting option because I think this is pretty useful. You see that we do have a bunch of plots. We do have a bunch of gates. Each plot is displaying a specific population, okay? We know that, for example, the plots displaying quadrants is gated on CD3. How you can really appreciate this, because if you open this layout like 1 week later, 1 month later, or maybe if you open a layout from a colleague and you cannot see that, right? One way is select the plot and go to the gating tab. You see that here we have a drop-down menu that says which is the current gate. So now on this selected plot, the current gate is CD3. We know it because we created like 2 minutes ago, but it's good to check this in the ribbon bar. So what I want to show you is how to automatically report the current gate in the plot title, which is much better than every time go to the ribbon bar and the gating tab. So what I want to show you is how to format the title with this regard. You can select one plot, or you can also select multiple plots, okay? And just go here in the formatting dialog and select title. By default, the title, when you install the software the first time, only display the file name, and you can see this because this is the content of the title. And you see that it just displaying one row, one piece of information, which is the file name. I want to start a new row, so I will place my cursor in the second row, and I want to insert a piece of text that automatically display the current gate. I don't want me to type CD3 or cells or whatever. And I can grab this automatically updating text from this drop-down menu, which says insert token. And this is the one that I want to use, current gate. And now you see that all my tokens, all my plots updates immediately in real time. And the title for those plots display the file name as before, but also the gate applied to the plot. So if you think this is useful, you don't need to do this every time in every analysis. Every single customization that you can do on a plot through these formatting dialog can be set as default in your specific user options. So if you go to File, Options here, the second last category at the bottom, you can customize the user option for your user, okay? And if you go to Plot Title, you can see that the dialog is pretty similar, okay? So what you have on the right is the formatting dialog to format the selected object. What you have in the center of the screen is the formatting option that you want to set as default for every future plot. So if you want to always display the gate in the second row, just go here and do the same as we did before, current gate. Now I click OK, and every plot I'm going to create from now on will display the gates in the title. So again, this is just one example, but we have tons of customization that you can set as default, or if you want, you can just change on one or few plots. Okay. So I also want to insert an histogram. Okay, I will go to the Insert tab, and I will create as a new plot. I will grab an histogram from the 1D plot section, and I will draw it. Exactly as it happened at the beginning when we created the color dot plot. This plot is ungated, and it's displaying the first available parameter. But exactly as before, for example, you can change this if you want, and we are going to display, for example, the CD3. How can you apply the gate? Okay, you see this is ungated. So what I want to show you is now how can you apply a gate to an existing plot? And the first option, I already mentioned that. So if you select the plot and you go to the gating tab, you can grab any gate here. Okay, now it says no gate, so it's ungated. I can say I want to display the CD3. And now it's displaying the CD3. But let me undo, let me show you another possibility, which I really like, which is using drag and drop. And you can do it in two ways. You can, let's say that you want to apply the CD3, okay, to this plot. You can drag and drop the CD3 actual gate if you have a plot displaying that gate, and drop it on the plot. Or you can drag the CD3 gate from the gate view and drop it on the plot. In both way, the results will be that the CD3 gate will be applied to that plot. So let me do it, for example, from the gate here. I'm moving the CD3 gate, I'm dropping it on the histogram, and you see that the CD3 it's now applied. Same things can be done from the gate view. Again, this is the second example of drag and drop. We have tones, and they really speed up the analysis because you can do a lot of stuff with drag and drop. So let's say that I want to display here the CD3. Maybe probably let's apply the cells gate. So we will have two peaks. Yeah, and in this case, this allows me to also show you how to create a marker. So you see here we have a distribution, and instead of a gate, in this case, we want to create a marker. So I'm going back to the gating tab, the same tab where we grab the gates and the quadrants. And in this case, I'm creating a marker on this histogram. So just click, drag, and release the mouse button to draw the marker. You see the marker comes with a text box, which is pretty similar to the gate text box. So it's live updating. You see if I move my marker, the statistic within the text box updates in real time. What we do in FCS Express is that when you create a marker, the marker it's not a gate. And indeed, you can see that if you look at my hierarchy, I cannot see any M1 marker, M1 gate, okay? So marker by default in FCS Express are not gate. Why this? Because we found out that most of the people that use marker use really a lot of markers on a lot of histogram and so on. So we want to provide people with the ability, with the flexibility to create as many markers as they want without, for example, making the gate view too much crowded. So if you just want to retrieve a statistic from a specific population, you don't need to have a gate, okay? In this case, I can retrieve a lot of different statistics from this population, like the MFI, the median, geometric mean, number, percentage, or whatever, without this being a gate. When it's useful to have a gate? Well, if you want to perform some downstream analysis, like for example, if you want to open a plot displaying those cells, if you want to go further in your gating hierarchy, then in that case you need a gate, and you can do that. And this is what I want to show you. So you can very easily right click on the histogram and select convert marker to gate. So you see here, I just have one marker. So this is why I can only see marker M1. But if you have like 10 marker, you will have a list of 10. And you have two options, convert or convert and link. Why two options? The first option, convert, let me open it again to show you. Convert means just create a gate that contains those events, but the gate will not update. So it will be like a screenshot, let's say, of the content of that marker. Then if you move the marker, the gate will not update. If you select convert and link, it means that the gate will update once you move the marker. I think most of the time you want to go with the second option, so convert and link, and this is what I'm going to click on. And you see, we are just creating a gate, but the software knows that you want all the events included in M1. So this is, let's say, CD3 negative. And I will just change a little bit the color, and I will keep all the other options as they are. And you see that by default, exactly as it happened with the 2D plots, the parent gate for this gate itself, okay, because I'm creating this gate on a plot gated on cells. So again, even in this case, gates are automatically created hierarchically. I'm going to click OK, and you will see now that my gate view, it's now displaying in the CD3 negative gate. So for example, if I want to apply this gate to the plot with quadrants, you already know how to do that. You can just drag and drop the CD3 negative gate from the gate view and release it on top of the plot of interest. And you see that now I have my CD3 negative population displayed on this plot. And since I selected convert and link, you see that the content of this plot, it's updating while I'm resizing my marker. So this strategy of converting a marker to a gate also apply to quadrants. So if you want, you see that I have 4 quadrants, but they do not appear in the hierarchy. Again, if you just want to retrieve the statistic like percentage or number, that's fine. You don't need to convert those quadrants to be gate. But for example, let's say that you want to convert the whole CD19 positive population to be a gate, because maybe you want to go further and you want to open a plot displaying that population. You can do that exactly in the same way we did for markers. So I'm going to right click on the plot, and in this case, I'm going to convert quadrants to gate. You see, we have 8 options. So you can convert each single quadrants, or you can also convert the pairs, like the 2 upper, the 2 lower, the 2 left, the 2 right. In this case, I will convert the 2 at the right. So I want the whole CD19 positive population. And again, you can convert or convert and link. I'm going to select convert and link. Same dialog as before. So this is CD19 positive. And here we go. I want to show you in this case, which I think it's pretty useful, this, I already mentioned, emphasize on plots. I want to click that here. Basically, this is really cool if you are dealing with rare events. Events will be plotted with a larger dot size, so it will be much easier to recognize them. I'm going to click OK, and you will see that all the events in the 2 right quadrants are now orange because they belong to my CD19 positive. And you can also see that they are larger. And when I say that this is making your life easier when you want to keep track, look at all my events here. You see, I can keep track of those events very easily. So this is super cool when you want to backgate. Backgating in FCS Express is usually super easy because it just means using color.plot as we did. You see, those are all color.plot. So I can keep track of all my cells, all my gates, all my population, you see, very easily in all those plots. But with the emphasis, it's even easier when you have rare population. Now, I didn't mention that, of course, we don't only have color.plots. I just use color.plot as an example, but if you want to change a plot to be a different plot type, like let's say that this CD4, CD8, you created as a color.plot, but let's say that you want to convert it to be a contour or a density, you can do that without deleting the plot. So just go to the Format tab, and at the very right, you see you have Change Plot Type. So you can convert any plot to be any other plot type. In this case, it's a color, so you see it's gray out, but I can change it to be a density. I can change it to be a contour plot. So it's up to you. It's very easy to switch between plots. Okay, so I want to retrieve some statistic. Let me make a little bit of room here. I will move this. You already see some statistic in the plots because you have text boxes, you have quadrants text box, you have marker text box. If you want to retrieve more statistic, just focus on the population that you are interested in. So for example, if you want to retrieve a bunch of statistic, using the CD3 population as a reference, just grab a plot displaying CD3. So this one, for example, and right click on the plot and select statistics. You see here I have gate or quadrant statistic. In this case, only gates because I didn't create any quadrants. So those statistics are the statistic for all for all gates. You see here I have CD3, CD8, CD4, CD3 negative, CD19 positive, calculated on my population of interest, so calculated on that plot. And for example, you can see that I have a bunch of CD3 positive on this CD3 plot, and they count for 100%. That's for sure. CD8 and CD4, 73, 15%. Those are actually the same that you can grab here, but here you have much more statistic. You can also, from this table, check whether you have some contaminant, for example, CD3 negative and CD3 positive. So depending on how you place this marker and this gate, of course, they are not overlapping. So in this case, it's basically 0. But you see, just grab the plots that you want to use as reference and right click gate statistic in this case. Or for example, I can do the same here and say statistic. In this case, I can grab the statistic for all gates on this plot, but also for the quadrants. So this table can be a little bit crowded because there are a lot of statistics that can be displayed and a lot of gates. By default, those are the statistics displayed when you install FCS Express the first time. And by default, all the gates are displayed. So now I have 6 gates. You see here I have 6 gates plus the ungated. So I have 7 rows. How to format this statistic table? Well, you already know, select an object and go to the Format tab. In this case, I do not even need to go to the Format tab because I already have my formatting dialog. So which are the categories that I can use to customize this table? The first one that I want to mention is the statistic. So those are all the statistics that you can display. And in this case, I can disable or enable multiple statistics you see here. Or you can also change sets which gate to display in this statistic table, so which rows. By default, again, as I was mentioning, all gates will be displayed, but for example, you can check this, only the gate check below, and then check, for example, the gate that you want to display. And let's say that we want only CD8 and CD4 to make it easier. Now, this is the, let's say, pre-customized table, okay? Again, I want to mention that in your user preferences, you can customize which statistic to display. So instead of going here, statistic, and check or uncheck this for every single table that you create, just go to your user option and change your preferences there. Now, what about, let me close this, let me resize this so we make a little bit of room. How about if you want to create personalized summary table? Well, you can do that very easily. Just go to the Insert tab and insert a text box, okay? And now within the text box, you can right-click and insert a table, okay? We want to mimic a little bit the table above, but with fewer number, let's say more simple. Let's say 4 columns, 2 rows. I want to fit the windows, and that's it. So here I want to report the sample. Here I want to report the acquisition date. Sorry, acquisition date. Here I want to report, let's say, I don't know, the number of CD4. And here, let's say an MFI, so the median of the CD3 negative, okay? But of course, you can insert, as you will see, whatever you want. So how can I fill how can I fill this table? I don't want to type. I don't want to type because if I have like 10 sample, in this case I have 9 sample, if I have 900, I don't want to type this 900 type. There is no reason to do that. So I'm going to fill this table with something that we call tokens. Tokens in FCS Express is everything that updates automatically. Tokens is the statistic that you see in a text box. Token is the gates applied to a plot, which update automatically. Token is all the statistic that you see here. Those are all tokens because they update in real time. So if I move my gates here, you see that everything updates in real time. Okay, those are all tokens. So how can you insert token? Very easy, drag and drop. So I can, for example, if I want to insert the sample name or ID, I can drag and drop a plot. In this case, any plots it's the same because I'm displaying the same file. So I drag and drop these plots here in my table, and the software allows me to insert a statistic token or a keywords token. I want to insert a keywords token. If you know the name of the keywords, I know it's sample ID in this file because I know this instrument, but otherwise just click on these ellipses and you will be able to navigate through all the keywords saved by your instrument. So if I scroll down, I know that in my file, my instrument is saving this sample ID. If you have a different instrument, you may have a different keyword. So just navigate here to find it out. And I will click OK. How about the acquisition date? Okay, same things. I will drag and drop and I will select keywords. I know it's $date, but just to show you, click on the ellipse and select $date. I can do the same and retrieve a statistics. For example, if I want a number of CD4, I probably want to retrieve it from this plot. I can drag and drop the entire plot and then set statistic, or I can do something much faster. I can drag and drop the CD4 gate itself from that plot. And now you see from the CD4, I want to retrieve the number of events. Same things for the median CD3. Okay, I will drag and drop in this case the markers. And now it's marker M1 and it's median. So you see, those are tokens. I didn't type anything. You can really recognize token because they are gray highlighted. You see here also in the text box. And the beauty is that they are live updating. So if I move my gates, my marker, you see the median CD3, it's live updating. If I move the CD4, the number of CD4, it's live updating. So this is really convenient if you want to create a customized report. Now, as I was mentioning at the beginning, I have multiple files, and what I want to do now is to go to the Data tab and open the data list, which is the list of files that I want to analyze. You see the data list populated with 9 files. Why? Because automatically FCS Express, when you open the first plot, so when we open this first color dot plot, you see file number 42 7040. FCS Express automatically, which is this one, FCS Express automatically populate the data list with all the FCS file in that folder, given for granted that they belong to the same experiment and you want to analyze all of them. Usually this is the case, but if you find out that you don't want to analyze some file, just select them and press the red cross. You will remove them from the data list. So what I want to show you, and this is the really cool part of FCS Express, is that what we have created so far, it's not the analysis for one sample, it's a template. We just use the first sample as an example, but what we have created is a template. So we can populate this template with any file of the data list. So now we are displaying file number 1. We only work with file number 1. But if you want, you can load any file in the data list by just clicking once on the blue number in the iteration column. Or if you want to go one by one, you can also click on here in the double arrow, previous and next. So this is change data on all object. It means load the next file on all object. And this is what I'm going to do. So for example, if I want to display the next, I will go to the ribbon bar and say next on all. This is file number 2, this is file number 3, and so on. If I want to jump to file number 9, I can just click on the data list on number 9. So you see what we have here, it's a template. It's not the analysis for one file, it's a template. There is no reason to create 9 copies of the same plots if you want to apply the same gating strategy, the same scheme. It's enough to have a template, and this is what we have done together in this webinar. So what I want to show you is that by default, since this is a template, the gates are universal. So you see this is sample 9, now I'm loading sample 1. If you look at the CD3 gate, it's identical. And it's identical because the CD3 gate, it's unique. It's not different CD3 gate for different sample. But it may happen that you want to adjust a gate sample by sample, and you can do this. So let's say that this is the CD3 gate of my template, and it's fine for sample 1. I load sample 2, and for some reason, I want to change the CD3 gate without affecting the template. I want to change the CD3 gate only for this sample. I can click, and here in the gating tab, I can click on data specific gate. So now I can adjust this gate without affecting the template. And the proof of this is that if I go back to my sample 1 is still using the master CD3 gate. Only sample 2 has been adjusted. Another way to do this, so let me click again on data specific gate to go back. Another way to do this is a shortcut. Before moving the CD3 gate, just press Shift, hold the Shift button on the keywords, and then move it or adjust it. Okay, and you see that by doing this, the data specific gate button is automatically pressed. So you don't need to go to the gating tab, click on data specific every time. Just press the shift button and move the gate. It will be automatically converted to data specific gate. And here you also see, let me double click on the CD3 gate in the gate view. Here you can also appreciate the meaning of always create a data specific gate when moving gates. If you know that the CD3 gate should be resized a lot of, frequently, and you don't want to always press shift and move, you can check this. And every time that you will move the CD3 gate, a data specific gate will be automatically created. Now, how can you keep track of data specific gate? If you go to the ribbon bar in the view tab, you have a gate navigator. I usually say that the gate navigator is the big brother of the gate view. And it works exactly in the same way. So you can double click on the gate, you can drag and drop the gate, you can change the hierarchy, but what the gate navigator is telling you on top of the gate view is for which file a gate is data specific. You see that here, I can see that the CD3 gate is data specific for this file, okay, which is the one that we are dealing with. So you can clearly keep track of for which file you create a data specific gate. And another useful option here is that you can create groups. So for example, let's say that for some reason, this data specific gate, this shape, which is now only applied to this file, should be also used for file number 1, file number 2, and 3 and 4. So let's say that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are a group of files that should share these specific gates. I can do this. I can select in the data list the file 1, 3, and 4, and I can drag them within the gate navigator on top of this data specific gate. When you release the mouse button, a group will be created. And you see a group made of the first 4 files. So now file number 1, 2, 3, and 4 share the same shape, the same data specific gate. File number 5, 6, and 7, and so on, they are still using the master gate. This group can also be renamed. So you see here, for example, this can be, I don't know, control samples or whatever. So it's really easy to well organize the data specific gate in the gate navigator. Now, how can you export the results? So now we have a template, we have a bunch of files, we have tweaked the gates. How can we export? And if you go here in the ribbon bar, just select batch. So batch in FCS Express means export. So the final layout, it's already there. This is our final layout. Okay, you can organize it as a PowerPoint presentation. So batch in FCS Express simply means export to whatever format you want. And first thing to do is go to the batch actions. Now it's empty. You can grab any action you want. The ones I want to mention today are the most frequently used. So PowerPoint, PDF, and Excel. Just click on the action that you want, for example, PowerPoint, and then fill this dialog. So there are a bunch of options, but you see they're pretty, let's say, common. For example, which page, how you want to organize the PowerPoint, whether you want to combine. This is interesting. So this option, so iteration option, it means, sorry, how do you want to organize the PowerPoint? You want to end up with a single PowerPoint with 9 slides, or you want to separate. It means create 9 different PowerPoint with 1 slide each. In this case, I'm going to combine. And here I'm going to set my output file. So I'm going to click, and let's say that I want to save it on the desktop, and I will call it PPT batch. If you want, you can also customize. We will probably have no time today to see this, but you can also add tokens to the output file name. You see here, you can add tokens. So for example, you can add in the file name the date, the acquisition date, or the sample ID. So we will just see an example, but just want to mention that you can do this. You can also create a folder based on token. So you can really automate the process in which you want to the export process, so that the next time that you use this template, you will not even need to change the output folder, because the output folder will be automatically updated based on the file content. So in this case, I'm just saving on the desktop, and I'm going to click OK. Now, I also want to show you the PDF. And in this case, it's the same dialog, but I want to save the iteration separately. So you see here, I want to check these options. This means that I cannot specify here a single file name. So you see, if I say save this to PDF batch, it means that the first file will be called like this, the second file will be called like this, and at the end I will end up with just one file, because they will overwrite each other. So this is what I was mentioning. I can, for example, add in my file name a tokens. You see here the little T buttons. Which token I want? Well, in this case, probably it's useful a keywords, our old friends, which is the sample ID. I can grab it from any file, sorry, from any plot, because all the plots are displaying the same files. And in the keywords, now I already know that I can type in sample ID. So basically, my PDF file would be called sample ID, and here I can add whatever I want. So for example, batch. Okay, I will click OK. And I also want to export to Excel. So we see we have column and cell mode. Column means combine. So one Excel with the statistic from all file. Cell mode means separate. So one Excel per sample. In this case, I'm going to combine. So I will go with column mode. I will define my output file name again. I will just call it Excel batch, and I will click OK. So those three actions are the three export that we have defined in our batch process. Those are saved together with the template. So the next time that you open this template, you don't need to recreate them. If you didn't specify a token in the file name, probably what you want to do is to just change the output file name or the output file folder, just to not override the past. If you did specify tokens, you will not even need to do that. But anyway, those are already created. You can also close these, okay, and reopen from the ribbon bar, and still they are there. So again, this is part of your template. So for the PowerPoint and the PDF, basically you are exporting one or multiple pages, okay? There is not much you can define, like, yeah, the resolution probably, you want to keep it high, but nothing more. For the Excel, it's a little bit different, because even with a very simple analysis like this, you can deal with a lot of statistic. Like even if you have like 6 gates and 10 parameters, you can end up with like 500 statistics very easily. And maybe you just care about 5. So how can you define, because we want to allow you to define which statistic you are really interested and which statistic you want to export. Well, you can use drag and drop. Remember the way in which we created this table? So by dragging and dropping, for example, a gates, by dragging and dropping a plot, it's the same. So what we are doing now is dragging and dropping statistics or plots or gates here in the Excel column mode. So for example, if you want to retrieve the CD4 percentage or the number of events, I'm going to drag and drop the CD4 gates, and I'm going to release it on the Excel column mode. You see, this is the same dialog as before. So we have a gate selected, and we can define one or even multiple statistic, okay? Now I will retrieve and I will export 2 statistics from the CD4 gate, number of events and percentage. If you have a table like this one, you can also select a cell or multiple cell, okay, and drag and drop them. So for example, if you want the Y median from this table, the Y median for this table is referring, this statistic table is referring to this plot, remember? So the Y median means the APC size 7 median. If I want this, I can select multiple cells and drag and drop them. If you have a table like the one that we built together manually, you can also drag and drop the entire table, and all the tokens in the table will be added. You can also reorder. You see here I have a sample ID. I want to place it at the top. So just grab it, move your mouse on the left and release it at the top. This will be column 1. This will be column 2, column 3, column 4, and so on in your Excel. So this batch export is set. Again, you can close it. Now we can export. You can export from starting from any file in the data list. So if you start from 9, you will only export 9. If you start from 1, you will export from 1. So you will export all. And now what I want to do is to go in the batch tab and click on run. So we have a lot of different options and a lot of different ways to run, rerun and review batch processing. I suggest you, if you are interested, to look at the webinar on batch processing, which is 1 hour dedicated to this. In this case, I want to do the easiest stuff. So just click on run. So we'll click on run, and I will click on yes, and all the action that I have set will be executed. So you see we have 3 actions because we have Excel, PowerPoint, and PDF, and we have 9 iteration because I have 9 files here. So this is very convenient if you have a lot of files. Again, no matter how many files you have, this is your template. So no need to create a lot of different copy of the same plots and the same gates. Now, if I resize this, you will see that in my desktop, I have a bunch of new files. So I didn't set any folders, so they are appearing on my desktop. And you see that they are also opening. So this is the Excel. Let me zoom a little bit. You see we have exported the set of statistics, the date, the events, CD3 median. We moved the sample ID here in the first column. So this is the first export that I want to show you. And the second one, as you can see here, we have a bunch of a bunch of different PDF because we decided to not combine. So I have 9 files, I have 9 PDF. I have exported here all pages. So you see I have page 1, I have page 2, at the agenda, and I have page 3 with my plots. And the resolution here is pretty high, you see. This is all vector graphic. If you also open this to, like, I don't know, Illustrator, you can also ungroup the PDF. It's pretty cool. Then I have a single PowerPoint because we didn't separate, but we combined. And in this case, we set to export only the page that we were displaying. So this is the analysis. And it's cool because those objects are all separated. So this is not a unique picture. And again, the resolution is pretty high. This is again all vector graphic. If you open this PowerPoint in the Windows version of PowerPoint, you can also right click and ungroup. So basically you are ungrouping everything, like you can move this out, you can move this out. It's pretty cool. Most of the customization can be done in FCS Express, which is better because you just customize once the plots, and that will be used since it's a template for all files. I just want to show you, this is sample 1. Look at the CD3 gate. Then sample 2, 3, and 4. You see the CD3 gate is the data specific. If I go to sample 5, I start seeing the master gate back. Okay, so I want to steal 5 minutes more of your time. I think it will really worth. And I want to show you how to quickly use the spreadsheet. So what we have seen so far is creating the analysis and export. What about if you want to create some formula to analyze your data inside FCS Express, to create some charts? I want to do this in the new page. This is a blank page, and I want to go to the Insert tab and insert a spreadsheet. This is like having Excel inside the software. So I'm going to click new. You can type a name. This is basically the worksheet name that you have in Excel. In Excel, you have multiple worksheets. In this case, you can open multiple copy of the spreadsheet, and each copy can have, sorry, not copy, multiple spreadsheet, and each spreadsheet can have a different name. In this case, it's just the default one, new spreadsheet. And this is the spreadsheet. You see, it's really like Excel. So you have column, you have rows, you can click, you can type. I'm manually typing with the keyboard. I can create a formula like equal, average, open parentheses, and then I can click and select. You see, we have references, so you can move your references around, close parentheses, return, and sorry, I mistype average. And this is my formula. So this is just to show you that it behaves like Excel. We are not going to type anything unless you want, of course. When you are working with the Excel, with the spreadsheet, sorry, you see at the top, you have 2 new tabs. So they are called layout and formulas. The layout is to organize the content of the spreadsheet. You see, you can change the fonts, you can merge cells, conditional formatting, inserting, remove columns and rows, freeze panes, export, a lot of stuff. If you go to the formula, you have access to a lot of formula. So we have almost all the formula that you have in Excel, plus some additional formula that are more specific for flow cytometry. You see here we have ANOVA, we have Mann-Whitney, t-test. Really, we have a lot of stuff. There are a lot of things that you can do with the spreadsheet. I want to suggest you to have a look at the webinar dedicated to the spreadsheet. The only easy thing that I want to show you today is to populate the spreadsheet by dragging and dropping files from the data list. So I'm dragging and dropping all those files. In this case, let's say that I want to retrieve the file name. So I will start with cells A2. And we already know how to insert the keywords, okay? Okay, and we already know what we want, like sample ID. You can also add the file name. In this case, sample ID is a little bit better. If you're populating the spreadsheet this way, so dragging and dropping all the files, probably what you want to do is to go, before clicking OK, just go to the data source tab here and uncheck this option. So this option, it's by default checked, and it says every time that you scroll through your sample manually through the iteration number, or using the double arrows, or using the batch, the software try to change that token, that statistic to update based on the new selection. In this case, you don't need that because you're already populating the spreadsheet with all files. So in some way, you want to fix this statistic. So you don't need this in this case. So I'm going to check it out. And now you see that the spreadsheet is populated with all the sample ID. This will be like sample name, let's say. I can just type it manually if I want. I also want to show you that you can retrieve statistic, of course. So in this case, I'm going to drag and drop. I will select statistic, and maybe I want to retrieve the CD4 and CD8 number of events and parents, okay? So again, the idea here, you will see you can create something which is pretty similar to the Excel that we have created before with one great difference. The Excel, it's a pure Excel. So if you move the gates, if you change something in your analysis, that Excel is not going to update. But in this case, this spreadsheet is going to update automatically as soon as you change something in your analysis. And we will show you this. And sorry, I will show you this. I also want to quickly create a chart. You see here we have the insert tab, we have bar, pie, box and whisker, scatter, scatter with regression. Before creating a chart, I want to suggest you to do the following. Right click and format, not format token, not format cells, just format. And here in the spreadsheet data category of the formatting dialog, check this option, which says use value in the first row as a label, because otherwise the software think that this is these are just standard data that you want to plot, but it's not like that. You don't want to plot the first row, you just want to retrieve names from that. So I usually suggest to check this option. Once you've done that, you can just create the chart you want. So for example, a bar plot, just draw it, and here is it. On the X and Y axis, you can select any column from the spreadsheet. So for example, on the X axis, you probably want the sample name. On the Y axis, you can do whatever, like CD8 number of events or CD4 number of events. Either way, both the spreadsheet and the bar plot are live updating. So if I switch to two-page view, you see from the View tab, I can show you page 1 on the left and page 2 on the right. This is my analysis. And again, this is another proof that everything is linked together, okay? If I move my cells gate, you see here, everything will update in my layout, okay? So all the plots will update, all the statistic, all the spreadsheet tokens, and also my bar plot. Okay, think about doing this without FCS Express. Every time that you tweak a gate, you need to re-export, recreate the gates, and so on and so on and so on. So I hope this was useful. Sorry for being a few minutes late, but I really think that this was worth waiting. I can switch to my summary page to just mention that for those of you who do not have access to FCS Express yet, just feel free to download the 30 days trial. It's fully functional. It contains all the features that I mentioned in this and much more actually in this webinar, and it lasts for 30 days. If you have any question, feel free to send us an email. We'll be glad to follow up with you. And feel free also to navigate to our video page on our website if you want to go more in depth for like batch processing and spreadsheet and many other stuff. Many thanks.